Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for this month's episode of Troop Talk Live. This is a very exciting show. I'm very happy to be here today. As you can see, we have three esteemed guests. I want to real quick introduce everybody to, well, at least on my screen right here is Kayleen. How are you doing, young woman?
I am doing great. Thanks, Aaron.
Kayleen is a volunteer, a very valuable, cherished volunteer. But I'll be honest, whenever we have kids on, the stars of the show are the youth. Preston and Haley, thank you guys for joining us. Kayleen and I just saw them literally rushing in from, I think you guys are both in college, right?
High school, but yeah.
High school, okay. Okay, Haley's in college. They both literally rushed home from class to join us in time. What Haley and Preston have in common is that they are members of the Scouts BSA Youth Council. And if you aren't familiar with that, thank you so much for joining us today. That's why you're here. Hey, Rusty, good to see you today. Affordable and Crafty, good to see you today from Pack 49 in Taunton, Massachusetts. We've got lots of folks watching to find out about the Scouts BSA Youth Council, what it is, and maybe most importantly, how youth now can apply for the next session, which starts this fall. Preston and Haley have just finished their session. They're going to tell you about their experience. But I'm going to start with Kayleen. Kayleen's an adult advisor. You know, Scouts BSA, the program itself is led by youth, advised and supervised by adults. Kayleen is one of the adult advisors. There's another adult advisor who a lot of you might know. She's not here today, but she's watching us in spirit. But Kayleen, maybe to get us started, tell us about the Scouts BSA Council, what it is, what it means, how it works, and what folks need to know.
You bet. Happy to do it. So the National Scouts BSA Youth Council began in 2022. It was started by our Scouts BSA National Committee. And the purpose is to engage youth from across the country to help shape the future of their program. Because the Scouts BSA program, as we know, is a program for our youth. And so our intent is to get perspective from youth across the country on the strengths of our Scouts BSA program, areas where we could grow, and their input and insights into where that program should go in the future. And they have and continue to give us really valuable feedback on programmatic ideas that are under consideration in Scouts BSA. And it's just been phenomenal to engage them.
So, what a great opportunity for our youth members out there. I want to make a point to everybody that the time to apply for the next session, if you will, or the next cohorts of Scouts BSA Youth Council is now. Go on here, fill out your application. In just a matter of the next few weeks or so, they're going to be taking the applications under consideration, I think Kayleen said, and are going to be choosing the next batch of leaders. Before we get to our youth leaders, Kayleen, what are the requirements for youth who would like to sign up?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So for all of you Scouts out there that might be listening, you need to be a current member of the Scouts BSA program at first class rank or higher. You need to be at least 14, but have not yet turned 18 during the entire duration of the cohort that you're applying for. So that means that you need to be at least 14 by October 1 and don't turn 18 until at least next May. You need to have either be currently serving or you have served in a position of responsibility in your Scouts BSA troop. There is no cost whatsoever to participate, but you do need to have access to Zoom and be available to participate in monthly meetings.
Okay, so real quick, the time constraints, they'll meet once a month or so, mostly by Zoom. These scouts will come from all over the country, but you don't have to travel all over the country. What a great opportunity for youth to be a part of something big, not only a part of shaping the future of Scouts BSA and the Scouts BSA program, but a great experience for personal leadership, a great way to challenge yourselves, right? If you're interested in doing something and be part of something bigger than yourselves. That's enough of my yapping, though. Nobody cares what I think. I would like to talk to Haley and Preston about their experience. Haley, let's start with you. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today. Racing home are you in a dorm or an apartment right now?
Yes, I'm in my dorm.
She's in her dorm in college. Where are you in school, Haley?
I attend Ottawa University in Kansas.
Ottawa University in Kansas. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about your role in the Scouts BSA Youth Council. What was your experience like?
Yeah. So a little bit of context in my scouting career. I actually recently just turned 18, so I'm kind of working on that transition into what an ASM looks like versus a JSM. But I'm still active on the Order of the Arrow Youth side. My experience in scouting, I'm an inaugural female Eagle Scout. I earned my Eagle in 2020. I actually just completed all the merit badges. My last one was scuba diving back in the spring. And I've held all sorts of different leadership positions. And we recently just founded a new unit that's more local and easier to access for young girls. So that's kind of where I'm at in the scouting realm. But I actually caught my eye the National Youth Council, I believe, back in last March, where I had an individual reach out to me and asked me to kind of consider it for the fall. And at first I thought I was too busy, but it turns out that joining the Youth Council has been one of the most memorable and impactful experiences in my scouting journey, as I served as one of the youth voices to the face of all sorts of the different top CEOs and members of the Scouting America community.
That is awesome to hear. Very, very cool. Preston, I think you said you're in high school still. Where are you coming to us from?
So I'm in Chapin, South Carolina. I just got out of a class a couple minutes ago, around 2:20. And I always told them to get on this call because I'm really excited to talk to all of y'all about how y'all can join the Scouts BSA National Youth Council.
Man, we appreciate that so much. Tell us about your role on the council. What was your experience like?
Absolutely. So I'll go ahead and kind of start the way Haley did with my background in scouting. So I'm an Eagle Scout, and I am currently a junior assistant scoutmaster in my troop. So I'm still go every week. I'm still active, and it's one of my favorite parts of scouting. I really think that's a way that we can connect with the younger scouts. I love seeing every year the new scouts that come in. I'm also a current lodge chief in the Order of the Arrow, and that's another way that I like to serve scouting. But as far as the National Youth Council goes, similar to Haley, I was a member of the National Youth Council with everybody else from across the nation. And one of our role and our job in the Scouts BSA was to inform the National Committee and to inform others in the Scouting America organization of how they can better serve our youth leaders and how they can better serve our youth in general. So we looked at a lot of different things, looked at, everything from the Scouts BSA handbook to social media to troop leaders training, all kinds of different topics that we looked at. And every time we discussed something, every time that something was brought up on a meeting, our goal was to inform the National Committee and other key volunteers and other key employees at Scouting America how they can better serve our youth leaders. And I think that was really impactful. That was something that I really loved doing. And I think that it was cool to be able to take what I thought, what was in the back of my head for so many years, and put it out there to others to see if they felt similarly, and also to let the adults know that that's how we feel. As a youth-led organization, I think that's the most important thing. We see that in venturing, we see that in the OA, we see that in Sea Scouts. So it was really cool to be a part of the national leadership on the Scouts BSA side.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Yeah. What a great experience, and maybe Kayleen, if I could just share a personal observation, one of the best things about the Scouts BSA program is it encourages youth to interact with adults. Like, in order to do an Eagle Scout project or whatever it is, you've got to call adults, strangers on the phone, sometimes knock on their door. That can be intimidating. I was terrified. I'm still kind of terrified of it right now, to be honest. So how cool is it? You mentioned interacting with the national committee. I mean, these are adults that you might not know that some people could be intimidated by. What a great experience. I want to encourage folks in the comments. We've got a lot of folks watching in the comments. If you know somebody who might be interested in applying for the next session of the Scouts BSA Youth Council, tag them in the comments. They can come watch the video. They'll see the link on the screen that we will throw up many more times. And by the way, I forgot to say it at the time, but Haley, I want to say thank you for continuing to be involved in Scouts BSA. You're 18 and you're an assistant scoutmaster, I think you said. That's awesome. Thank you for doing that. And also, to be clear, the schedule for the Youth Council, Kayleen, I just want to make sure I get this straight. It's kind of loosely connected to the school year. It starts in the fall. These two folks, these fine young folks here, ended their terms in the spring. The next session will begin in October. The time to apply for that is now, and that's what we're here to talk about. Brian, throw that link up on the screen one more time if you don't mind. And I want to talk, Kayleen, with you real quick as an advisor. As we said, it's a youth council. It's made up of kids. Talk about your role a little bit as an advisor and what you sort of, what's your philosophy and how do you guide these young folks?
Yeah. And Aaron and all the other adults out there can relate to this, right? our job as the adults helping to advise the council are really to take care of, communication and logistics, to frame the issues for the youth, and then to get out of their way. Really to step back and let them run the meetings. Haley and Preston can attest. Every meeting, once we kind of framed what our topic was, or if we had a guest coming in to talk with the youth, we'd set that up, and then we would step back. The youth would decide who was going to facilitate, who was going to take notes, whether we were in a full group session or whether we broke into breakouts. At that point, we really tried hard to let the meeting be theirs, let them take the discussion where they wanted to take it, arrive at the outcomes and the recommendations that they had as a group with minimal interference or help, from the adults, because the intent was to center their voices and for us to be mindful of not influencing that by too much adult comment. So it's been great to be a part of that. We see over and over again in scouting how beautifully our young adults can do that when we give them the space and let them drive. And that's been a core intent of the Youth Council, is we want to center those voices and then let our other leaders in scouting learn from the youth. And a cool outcome, where we've done 3 cohorts now, right? So this is our third, we've done 3 years. The Youth Council now is becoming better known. And we have other parts of scouting, even up to and including our national board, who have said, hey, can we get the Youth Council's opinion about topic X or topic Y? That's probably the best outcome that we could hope for, that other parts of scouting are saying, we now know this group exists and we want their input on the thing that we're working on.
Contrary to popular opinion, we at National, we do want to hear from people. We do want the opinions of youth. I know some people don't believe it. It's true, though. And the Scouts BSA Youth Council is a great way to make that happen. You all will notice that Kayleen said it's been 3 years and 3 cohorts. They're getting ready to put together the 4th year this fall. So obviously that tells you serve in this position for just 1 year. It's really probably more like 7 or 8 months. Haley, I'm just curious to know about your experience. And you just finished up your term. Do you have a favorite memory or something that you can share with us about your experience?
It's so hard to pick one favorite memory because we had so many meetings. But I would say there's 2 main experiences that I want to highlight. The first one is probably all the little interactions that we took together as a group to kind of foster this community and fellowship with one another. We had these fun questions of the day that we would do every single time, just to kind of warm us up to each other and get to know about each other from all parts of the U.S. And then that actually translated over into my other parts of scouting, specifically the Order of the Arrow, where I went down to this conclave, which is a fellowship gathering between a couple different lodges or councils. And I actually got to see 2 or 3 members from the Youth Council at that conclave, and I had no idea. So that was really exciting. And then at NOAC, the National Order of the Arrow Conference, which is kind of like a jamboree for arrowmen, we had a similar gathering together, and it was just a great time getting to talk with one another. And then the other experience that I want to highlight is being able to share my perspective on the different leadership or learning styles that, Scouts have, whether it be kinesthetic and hands-on, visual, auditory, and directly give my input because I'm very passionate about it, about how we can create Scouting America programming for rank advancement and merit badges that are more tailored to include all sorts of these learning styles.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Preston, what about you? Anything that you're particularly proud of that you can share with us about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll kind of break that down into 2 parts. One thing I thought was really cool and one thing I'm really proud of is being able to more generally share my thoughts with people in the Scouts BSA and Scouting America organization that have a pretty big impact. We met with people like the National Chair, the National Commissioner, Scouts BSA Chair, Scouts BSA Director, people like that, to really kind of inform them of what the youth are thinking about a certain issue. As a normal scout going to a troop meeting, that's pretty cool. I get to talk to other people in the troop leader leaders. I get to talk with the scoutmaster. But it's a whole other thing entirely to talk with someone who is literally running the organization. Specifically, if I had to pick one project I was really proud of, one thing I really enjoyed, would be revising the Scouts BSA handbook. I know that they came to us on one meeting and said you can read the Scouts BSA handbook, the Patrol Leaders Handbook, or the Senior Patrol Leaders Handbook. And I thought pretty hard about that, but which one I valued the most, which one I really wanted to delve into. And I chose the Scouts BSA Handbook, which admittedly is a much bigger read than the other 2. But I went through and I read it, and I made my comments, and I came back to the meeting prepared to give those comments. And as a group, we all talked together about what we thought we could do to improve on the Scouts BSA handbook, what we thought we could do to make it more entertaining, more informative, and more accessible to everyone else that is reading it in the Scouts BSA program. That's one project I thought was really cool. There are many of them. I know for everyone on the council, it's probably a different answer. It's probably a different experience they really valued. But for me, that was just a really cool time to be able to work on something that I had used so much coming up through my time on my trail to Eagle.
Awesome. Awesome. Very, very cool. The first thing I think of, we have a lot of parents that watch these shows that we do. So if you're watching this show, if you're a parent, whether it's a Scouts BSA kid or anything else, think about maybe some youth that who might be interested in this. Send them the video that we're doing here with Preston and Haley, and ask them, if it's something they might be interested in. As a reminder, when we're done here, this video will stay here, so they don't have to watch it. We got about another 15 minutes here. They don't have to watch it right away. This video will stay here. You can send it to them and get their thoughts. Kayleen, you mentioned earlier the requirements in terms of the age and the rank and certain positions they have to have held. But I'm curious if you could tell us about what else you guys look for in terms of personality traits or something like that. What does a kid participating in the Scouts BSA Youth Council need to have in terms of personality and things like that?
Yeah, great question. I think the first way I want to answer that is by encouraging all of the youth or parents that might be listening out there. There's not a particular profile of a youth that's a good candidate for the youth council. So you don't have to have earned Eagle. You don't, there's not a certain number of merit badges you need to have earned or have had some type of a national position. This is really an opportunity for all Scouts who meet those basic criteria to be considered equally. And when the Scouts BSA Youth Council was formed, our number one objective, in addition to just wanting to provide a really intentional place to center youth voice, was that we wanted the council to be diverse. And we actually really wanted to show that it is very possible to put diverse groups of people together in our scouting program. And we have. And so we're looking for youth that are excited to offer their perspective, that are really wanting to create an environment on these calls where everybody feels like they belong, everybody gets a chance to talk, where you come with an open mind. Maybe you share your perspective, maybe someone else shares a perspective and that changes your mind. That's called adulting, right? That's what we do as we grow and realize that we all come to the table from a different starting place, but we can learn a lot when we share. So it's really a desire to contribute and a desire to learn and impact the program in a positive way, not only for those youth that are in it, but for the youth that are going to come behind and benefit from the changes that happen to the program because of the input that these kids give. Beyond that, as we look at the applications and choose the youth that we engage, we just try to make sure that we've got a good cross section of kids from all over the country, different ranks, different backgrounds. We want to show that we have space in the council for all the variety of youth that we have in the country, from all the different places that they may come from, what they believe, how they identify. All of those voices are important to us, and we think we can give the best advice to those making decisions by having those multiple perspectives around the table.
Awesome. Very, very cool. By the way, Preston Rusty says he recognizes you from NOAC. So very, very cool there. You were just telling us about that earlier. In case you didn't think anybody was paying attention. See, Rusty's paying attention. So thank you, Rusty. Appreciate that, man. I feel like, we're promoting the Scouts BSA Youth Council. In a sense, we're talking about the benefits also of the Scouts BSA program as a whole. Kayleen, you mentioned it just now, working as part of a group, right? Working as part of a team. I mean, out of all the other things, that's yet another benefit to working or being part of the Scouts BSA Council. Haley, I wonder if you could share with us, you served on the council for your session, 7, 8, 9 months, whatever it was. What advice would you share for people who are thinking about applying? What do they need to know? And I'd be specific question about you. You're busy. You're in college. You've got a lot of things going on. How are you able to fit it into your schedule?
Yeah. So those are all things like I was considering, especially the busy piece when I was thinking about applying. Number one, I promise you're not too busy. The application process, it's only a couple questions. It's just talking about why you're passionate about scouting, even if it's a specific field like badges, or campouts, or a certain position like SPL or bugling. And then on top of that, come in with an open mind. So some of the topics that we talked about, revising and thinking about, whether it was the structure of positions or maybe like the impact that specific troop positions can have in the unit level, or it was talking about the integration of the Cub Scout program all the way into the Scouting America program. There were so many different ideas that were thrown around that I wouldn't have even thought of, nor had I necessarily considered at first, because we know one type of program right now, and that's what we're experiencing. But your experience to be able to just provide any insight to something that would have improved your journey is so valuable. So you're more than qualified enough. It only takes 2 hours of your entire month, every single month. I wrestle, I did track, I did 7 different clubs. I promise it just takes a little bit, and the impact that you can make is generationally changing.
Awesome. Did you say you're a wrestler and you run track?
Yes, I currently wrestle at college right now.
All right, so we've got an elite athlete on the call. Also, didn't realize that. That's very, very cool, though. And one of the things I love about this is, we want feedback. We want to hear the voices of everyone from different backgrounds. Like Kayleen said, it's not always about the Super Scout. It's about everybody and their experiences. So if you're thinking, I don't really have time to do this, I don't really have time to do that, we want to hear your voice. Your opinion matters. We want to know what you think about that. So if that's you, hey, just think about applying. It doesn't hurt to apply. The application process, Kayleen was telling me they've already got a good number of applications. They can always use more. So keep those applications coming in. Shout out to the Michigan Crossroads Council who's watching. Thank you, Christopher. We appreciate that. Preston, before we let you guys go, Preston, what about you? What do you think you've learned the most from your experience serving on the council?
Yeah, so I learned a lot from serving on the council. I think that an experience like that is bound to teach you things that you never would have thought of before. But one thing that I really cherished that I learned was that you can have different perspectives on an issue. You can have different ideas about how to solve a problem, and you can still work together to solve that problem. Just because I think that, we should solve the problem this way and someone else on the council thinks we should solve it a different way, that's not a problem. We can compile all those ideas to make a better idea. We can build on each other's ideas. I know we've had, several times when we were prompted with a question, and we had our note taker, we had our leader, our discussion leader, and they would say, how do you think we should solve this problem? What do you think we should do? One person may have one perspective, and one person may have the other perspective. The cool part is that the note taker takes on both perspectives. They don't pick out one that they think is the better one. We don't take a vote to pick the better one that we all agree on. We record everyone's responses. Everyone's ideas matter, and we record them all. We consider them equally. And all of those ideas that we come up with inform the Scouts BSA Council and Scouting America should do and how they should carry forward in the program. So I think I learned that all of our voices matter, and it's really cool to be able to build on each other, make each other better scouts to solve big problems together.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think Kayleen said it best. It's called adulting, right? That's a part of what we all have to do, and that's so great that you guys are getting that experience. Kayleen, I think we've hit all of our talking points. What else do you think our viewers need to know about the Scouts BSA Youth Council?
Maybe I could share just a couple of the outcomes so that people have a sense of what the previous cohorts have actually touched and changed in our movement.
Yeah, please do.
They gave a lot of perspective back on the 2023 Jamboree. So the first cohort had a lot of impact on the Hometown Culture Day. If you were at the 2023 Jamboree, their feedback helped to shape that. This cohort that Haley and Preston were on met with Andrew Miller, who was in charge of programs for the 26th Jamboree, and gave him quite a bit of feedback that I know he is actively incorporating into their plans for 26. All of the cohorts have given input on the experience of girls in the Scouts BSA program and really helped us think about how we continue to make sure that our program is doing a good job of meeting both the needs of the males and the females that are participating in Scouts BSA. As Preston mentioned, they talked a lot, this cohort, about the various handbooks related to Scouts BSA, about troop positions of responsibility. So, we asked them, which ones do you like? Which ones have you never even heard of? Which ones don't exist that should? We heard a lot about, does anybody, have a bugler? There were a couple like that maybe were not as relevant today. And then they also talked about things like, should there be another kind of communications position with all the social media and the communication channels that exist today? Do we need somebody in a unit leadership position thinking about equity and inclusion? So there was a lot of really good ideas that came out of that. So I think what I want our listeners to hear is just that this isn't just discussion. We've literally taken the feedback from the youth in these previous cohorts and are actively applying that to make changes. And Preston and Haley and another 100 youth that have been involved in the council can actually point to things that are different or that they impacted from their time serving on the council.
Yeah, that's awesome. Not only do you have a chance to voice your opinions, to share your thoughts, but those are actively being taken under consideration and in many cases influencing policy. You heard Preston talk about the Scouts BSA handbook, right? This is a big deal. These are big things here. I want to reiterate the Scouts BSA Youth Council. It's a nationwide thing, but I guess one of the only good things to come out of the pandemic is that we can now meet virtually, right? So meetings are virtual. You don't have to fly across the country, right? And you might be thinking, well, I just come from a small town in Kansas or whatever. And that's great. We'd love to hear from anybody. It doesn't matter where you're from, South Carolina, whatever. We love it. It's all great. So I would say, in short, anybody can apply. I would also add the time to apply is now. Kayleen said in the next couple of weeks, they're going to be, taking all the applications under consideration. Business for this next iteration of the council starts in October, which it'll be here before you know it. I can't believe it's already almost September, Kayleen. School has started, as these two young people here know, and October will be here before you know it. So if you are interested, or if you know someone who is interested, I would say get that application in pretty quick, right, Kayleen? It needs to get done pretty quick. The application process itself, maybe you could talk about that just real quick, Kayleen, the process itself of applying.
Yeah, you bet. So at the link that Aaron has shared throughout the call, you'll log in there and it will lead you step by step, kind of like filling out a Google form or a Google survey, which you've all done. It looks very similar to that. So you'll put in your demographic information. Who are you? How old are you? What's your troop? And then there's a handful of questions to help you think about why you want to do this. So why are you interested in the council? What are some ideas that you have for Scouts BSA? What do you think could be improved or different? Or just trying to get a sense of, what's your perspective? Where are you coming from and why are you interested? And then, we've got about 7 of us on the committee. We all split those applications up. We all read, 20 or 30 of them, just like you guys do when the youth are on the call. We've got some prompts. We all share that evaluation. And then we come together and we compare all of our results and kind of see, where do we draw the line in terms of inviting youth on? And I'll tell you guys, whether you make it onto the council or not, it's the hardest thing is every single one of you that apply would truly make a good and a valuable member of the youth council. And so the hardest job that we have to do is deciding, who gets to join and who doesn't. And that's why it's great that we do it year after year. If you're more like 14, 15, 16, you've got time. If you don't make it onto the council this year, apply again next year, because this is going to continue. And Haley and Preston just helped us think earlier this summer about how we keep youth council alumni engaged. And so we've got some ideas about how they continue to get to have a way to deliver impact to the program. And these guys that have been through it will probably join us periodically as guests and help be mentors to the youth that follow them. So I think this is a growing opportunity. And we really hope that you'll apply in the next few days, because our deadline is the 31st of August. So we just have a few more days, but it is not too late if this opportunity excites you.
So the application process is simple and easy. And I would say, Kayleen, if you have a program that you're actually starting to build an alumni base, you must be doing something right. So yeah, that's very, very cool. A quick shout out to Todd from Troop 601. Todd, you're a little bit late to the show today, but that's okay. We're going to allow it. And the good news is this show will live here when we're done. You can always go back and watch from the very, very beginning. Preston and Haley, I want to thank both of you all for coming on the show today. But I mostly want to thank you for serving on the Scouts BSA Youth Council. That's so awesome and cool that you did that. Thank you guys for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Kayleen, it's always good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Appreciate having you on as always. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Again, tag a friend, forward this to a friend. This is a hot item. Have them apply as soon as they can. And thank you all for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day today. We'll see you all in the next episode of Troop Talk Live. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Bye, everybody. See you, everybody.